up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. It is Friday. We like to call it a freak flag feel good. Fake it till you make it. Ric Flair. Woo! Football Friday, officially a Football Friday edition of our live stream here on Texas Football. Appreciate you guys joining us. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by the estimable Jerry Hamilton and my good friend and now colleague, my man Jeff Howe, joining us as well for our Friday live stream. Cowboys suck. At least I have the Longhorns. Hey, you don't know if the Cowboys suck yet. Come on. Gotta be optimistic. This is the optimistic part of the football season where everybody thinks they're gonna be pretty damn good. All right. So even Cowboys fans should feel pretty good about that. Actually, speaking of Cowboys, I actually heard the head coach Schottenheimer have a really interesting player comparison to Jaden Blue. I want to get you guys' thoughts about that. We'll talk, of course, about what we saw from the media windows there at practice the last couple of days. Whatever you guys want to talk about, throw out your questions, comments. We'll address as many of them as we can. Super chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. We've had player availabilities as well. So we'll get into what some of the players had to say about the team and their teammates. So a lot of good stuff on the show. It's going to be jam-packed. Feeling good about a Football Friday and 29 days until Texas kicks off versus Ohio State. And guys, there's a 29. Grayson Littleton, thank you, CB. Appreciate it. That's why we always love you, man, putting in the work for the countdown. Grayson Littleton is one of the biggest headlines in the first couple of days of training camp. The current number 29 on the roster, Jerry.
He's playing his way into a single-digit number next year. He's playing up.
Right. That's right. That's true. You're right. As soon as he gets like a starting job, there's no way he's going to keep that 29. Why? He should, though. You know what? If I talk to him again, I'm going to say, dog, keep 29. Go old school, dog. Go old school with this thing. You know what I mean? 29 is a kind of a sexy number. At least it was back in the day. Michael Ungar. Ungar was one of the fastest. Yeah. Jeff, I remember I told you several times, and I don't know if anybody remembers what Ungar ran his pro day. I remember it being really fast. Like he ran a really fast time, and everybody was like, "Man, are you shocked that Michael Ungar ran a fast time?" I was like, "No, I'm not at all," because he was a scout team wide receiver. He was a gunner, and he was damn good at both of them. Trust me, I had to go against him, and he could run, as Dion used to say. He could run. And don't get caught slipping with Michael Ungar on the double move or something out there. So shout out to our man CB in 29 days, all the great 29s. Ryan Palmer, Josh Thompson, great DB number 29. All right, gentlemen, let's talk about what we saw. By the way, questions, throw them out there. Super chats, jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. We'll get to those. So throw them out there. You guys know we try to end this about an hour, probably going about an hour on this live stream. So throw out your questions, comments as quick as you can. All right, let's talk about media windows, gentlemen, and what we saw and what stood out. Now that you've had a time to process what you've seen over the last couple of days, really extended media window in the first practice there. That was pretty long. Yeah. What stood out to you? I'll throw it to you first, Jerry. Player, just general observation, tone, vibe, whatever. What were your thoughts about the first 2 days, and what was the biggest standout to you?
Well, I think it kind of confirmed the general thought I've had is 1 through 85. This is probably the most talented 1 through 85 Sark's had at Texas. Now, a lot of guys aren't draft eligible. They're younger players. Number one ranked recruiting class. It's going to have a lot of freshmen challenging upperclassmen. The portal kids all looked really good. That was my number one takeaway there. And I would say just the general depth on the defensive front, like at edge and defensive line. And PK kind of said it Tuesday, Jeff. He was like, we have more depth on the interior D line than we had last year. And I think some people are like, yeah, but we had so much experience last year. Well, I mean, Travis Shaw's an experienced player, just wasn't at Texas, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's guys that have been – Murad Watson has better freshman year than a lot of guys did, right? 30 tackles, a sack, a few tackles, TFLs, while being a focal point at Syracuse for opponents late in the year. So I just kind of loved what I saw from the defensive line. I like where the receiver position's at, because the one thing, Rod, is still most important at this position is you run a clean route and you catch the ball. You know, you run. Guys can have different strengths. Xavier Worthy can take the top off. Colin Johnson could be the big mismatch in the back shoulder game. But the one thing has to be true about all these guys: do you run clean routes? If you don't, Chris Jackson's going to have fun with you. And two, do you catch the football, especially catch the football contested in traffic? And one of my takeaways was Emmett Mosley's going to do that. You know Ryan Wingo will do that. You know DeAndre Moore. Even though DeAndre had a couple of drops last year, by the way, he looks tremendous, by the way.
He does look good. Yeah.
Jack injuries, looks a lot like Gunnar Helm catching a football out there. The young tight ends, both are going to be really good catchers of the football. You know, your freshman receivers, you know, Parker Livingstone does a good job catching the football, especially over the shoulder plays, right, where he can run under the ball. But I just think Texas has a really, really deep football team that can withstand some injuries, as you are going to have, and still compete. I mean, I just love where the roster's at. That's my main thing. Is I just love where the roster's at.
Yeah, and it feels like before we get to you, Jeff, and your thoughts, that's the beauty of it. If you go look at it, you're like, damn, this thing isn't close to peaking yet. This Sark formula, the Sark build, you're like, oh no, you got like two. That's why I said my big prediction was 2026, you win the national title. But you realize when you see how deep it is and the freshman class, how talented it is, you go, oh man, they're actually maybe a couple of years from peaking as a program, right? Remember Mac hit its peak. Mac Brown, Texas football hit its peak. I don't know if Sark is yet close to it. I think he's got a few more steps to this peak as a program.
That's kind of where I wanted to go. You know, Jerry covered a lot of ground, but I think for me, when it boils down to it, I think the evaluation process that this staff goes through, specifically when it comes to getting guys out of the portal. Look, and I know you've got NIL and a lot of other stuff that can help you get guys to Texas, but I think with the big three post-spring portal guys, I think they hit home runs with all three. I think with Murad Watson, Jack injuries, and Emmett Mosley. I think all three are home runs. So that tells you they're still able to identify the right guys. And the freshman classes, I feel like I've said this about like the last three classes. Like, man, I don't know that I've ever seen a Texas freshman class look this good, look this ready, have this much potential NFL talent. And I think this one might be the best one I've seen to this point. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they in an NIL era where it would be really, and I know we can get in a conversation about relationships and transactions and blah, 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 blah. But in an era where it would be real easy to just go out and buy really good players, they're able to make evaluations, get the guys they want, but they're still making this a really talented football team with the guys they're bringing into the program.
Yep, I like that, Jeff. I'll tell you something that stood out to me that I love is that the individual coaching, like so much individual coaching going on, because now they have, you got a Nichols coach and a safety, basically Coach Kingsley safeties coach. You got a cornerbacks coach, Lallyn Clark's coaching the ends. So now there's so much individualized coaching, attention to detail. Back in the day, I think that would happen almost post-practice a lot of the times, or in transition between different periods. Coach Keenan run up to you, hey man, do this. But now you get that immediate critique. Yeah. And so I've been noticing it in all positions. Like they have so many different guys now to help out, whether you're talking about the assistants and the support staff, all that. They really do get great individual coaching. Like there's not a second, I would say a drill that goes by where a player does something incorrectly and doesn't have someone coming up to him like immediately like, hey, just so you know, watch your footwork on that particular thing. Watch your hand placement here. It's I said I didn't experience that. We just didn't have as many bodies in the coaching ranks. That's what I recognize at practice. That's why they're getting so much done. Because then after practice, they're going to get the film study breakdown, and that's when coaches don't actually talk to them and go into some depth. But they get it on the field immediately. And not just when they mess up. You get messed up. Yeah, you get dog cussed and coach yelling at you and screaming at you. And that happens. Of course, that happens in every football field at every level. But I'm talking about even when you don't mess up, just when you were a little off in your footwork, or say, it was a lazy step, or say, oh man, your hand placement wasn't right. It wasn't a totally lost rep, but just that little critique, not just when you mess up, but just when it isn't actually a perfect rep. When they're searching for the perfect rep every time. So if it ain't a perfect rep, coach can always say, "Oh, that was good, but you know what? I got you. If you get out of that break a little bit sooner, all right, you dig those hips in. I'm telling you, it's gonna pay off for you. I'll make sure you get your head turned this way, and then it'll help you flip your hips. All those things. Like I was recognizing that as a player because I was putting myself in their shoes. Guys, they're getting coached up. I see why development's so damn good.
Yeah.
Look at this. Man, these guys getting coached up every rep of every drill of everything. There's not a wasted rep out there where they're not getting critiqued on, hey, this is the right way to do it. And then they get encouraged when they are doing it perfect. So that's what I noticed, man. It's great at the, like I said, at that level now to have that many eyes on you and have that many resources at the coaching level, whether it be a support staff guy or whether that's an assistant position coach or whether the actual position coach or Sark himself. Hell, watch Sark doing it with the receivers.
Oh yeah, no,
he's like a receiver coach.
He's very hands-on with wideout. He is very hands-on with wideout because he knows the precision of the route running and timing affects his entire offense.
It's got to be because he doesn't work that closely with any other group other than quarterbacks.
Yeah. Hey, so I get a general question for one for Rod and then one for both of you guys. One, Rod, you were on an extremely talented team. You've covered and been around all these talented teams. How talented do you think this team is at first and second glance? One. And then two, for both of y'all, did y'all see any position that you said it may be improved from a year ago? I know it's early, but you still are on the hoof a couple of times and you got enough to say, okay, maybe if this position stays healthy, it may be an upgrade. It's hard because we didn't see a lot of linebackers in those two practices. I know.
Yeah, it's true. It's a good point.
Where do you go with that, Rod? I mean, the on the hoof talent level, what you saw of this team.
I'll say this, because I know Jeff wants to get into it in terms of the positions that may have improved and all that. In terms of talent level, I think this is probably your most talented. We're talking about overall, the top guy to the guy that's the bottom of the guy on the depth chart overall. We're just talking about talent level overall and upside. Man, you're 04, 05s, and man, that 08 team overall in terms of roster talent overall. Because 09, we all know 08 was more talented than 09. Sometimes we're talking about roster. Those are the two most talented rosters Max ever had at Texas, right? That 05 and that 08. I'm going to say this roster, that's the only two I may put ahead of it.
Yeah. Maybe.
That's the only two I can put ahead of that Mac ever had. And I played on some good teams, guys. I played on teams that won 11 games. We were good. We had number one class in 99. That 02. Now that 02 team,
top to bottom,
02 underachieved, but we did get that 02 class you can include in that group. So they were at the bottom of our roster at the time, that 02 class, and they were loaded.
Yes.
So that was a really talented. I mean, we returned. Hell, we had an All-American at every level of defense returning that year in 02. All right, C. Red, we had Derek Johnson, we had Nathan Basher, and I mean, we had bowlers.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to another one that could contend, 02 is in that category, but clearly 05, clearly 08, in my opinion. But it's crazy to say that this team is probably more talented than the 09 team. But when you have transcendent talent at key positions like you had in 09 and the defense where it was then, I mean, you can make a run. But I can say that's the only two I'd put ahead of it, guys. We're just looking at the roster and the talent overall. It's got that kind of high ceiling. It's more talented than any team I played on, in my opinion. And I hate to say that, but somebody say I'm wrong.
No, I don't.
02 might be it. 02, but 02 we underachieved ultimately. But 02, we still had Chris. Chris Sims was the number one quarterback in the country, guys. Number one player in the country. And then you had a VY coming in. So 02 probably could have contended.
That red shirt
was a better team. 01 and 02 are like 08 and 09 Texas.
Yeah.
Or 01 was a better team and we went further. But 02 might have been a more talented overall team than the 01 team. That
yeah, it's close though, because I mean that 01 team had 2 first rounders on it with Mike Williams and Quentin.
That's very true. You're right.
So that it's tough to delineate. Jerry, what was the second question? I was thinking about talent.
Is there a position that y'all said, okay, that might actually, even though it's just 2? Well, so look, we clearly got an hour and a half worth of viewing combined. Okay, an hour the first day, about 30 minutes the second day. But without seeing much of linebackers, right, in the setting you want to, is there a position you said, okay, this might be an upgrade this year, an improvement?
I think the upside at edge, when I watch that edge group with a healthy Colton Vasek, with Landon Jackson and Justice Terry, or Lance Jackson and Justice Terry, that group, I feel like the upside is there. It's through the roof with that group. I said this about D-line. You don't have like maybe the top end talent that you had last year. At least we go from what we didn't go into the year last year thinking Alfred Collins was going to have the kind of year he had. At least I didn't. It was kind of wait and see. So hindsight is 2020 on that. But I feel like the defensive line, the interior D line, I agree with PK's take, Jerry. I think they've just got a deeper rotation of guys that can give them high leverage snaps. You know, even if Travis Shaw is only like 15 snaps a game, like if he's healthy, he's a difference maker. If he's healthy,
yeah. I mean, look, Travis Shaw has, for people that haven't really dug in, Travis Shaw's really good against the run. By the way, 6'5", 340.
Huge.
He has 55 career tackles in 3 seasons. Like that way eclipses where Vernon was headed into year 4 or into his final year at Texas. Like, while people say, well, can they be as good? Well, I mean, Rod Watson had 30 tackles as a freshman. Go look to see if any of the guys that just left had 30 tackles as a freshman, was a freshman All-American. They didn't. Now, Alfred had his moments, but to your point, Jeff, I mean, you know, if Levon Johnson can stay healthy, he's had some production when he's been healthy.
Yeah. And let's not forget, man, Cole Brevard. I don't know. Cole Brevard's probably not going to have the numbers, but is going to be a really big part of this defense.
Yes.
And I think, too, your interior D-line is going to be helped by the fact that, you know, you're so deep at edge now and you got so much talent at edge that somebody's going to have to get single blocked on passing downs. And that's just, I don't know who it happens for, but I think those two positions, those, as crazy as it sounds, the defensive line, if we're talking about it as one group, I think it's better than it was last year in terms of top to bottom talent.
I like that. The edge room certainly is, no question about it. And Barron Sorrell is a hell of a player. Barron Sorrell turned into a beast out there. And I'm with you, Sam. You're a better unit after losing that guy. Is a hell of a statement. All right, let's thank our friends over at Flat Creek real quick, and then we'll dive into some of the questions that you guys have. Appreciate you guys throwing your questions out there. But thank you to our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. We appreciate them sponsoring our Friday live stream. Did you know the most awarded wine in Texas is actually the vineyard closest to Austin? That's right, folks. Flat Creek Estate Winery. Their Super Texan recently scored a 98 out of 100 in the San Francisco Wine Festival. It was named the top red blend in the country, and you can actually find it at your local Specs, at your local HEB. We've been bragging about it for a long time and how it was such a great wine, award-winning wine. Even my wife loves it, and my mom is a big fan of it, and her mom as well. We enjoyed it over the holidays. Well, they tested it against the best of the best, all right, in a national wine festival, and it still not only held its own, it actually won top red blend. So you can find that Super Texan at your local Specs, at your local HEB, but also they have it at, I think our local Central Market here has a display for the Flat Creek Estate wine. So it's not the best, it's not the only great wine they have. They have the Pinot Grigio is really good. The Rosé is fantastic as well. Not only do they produce some of the best premium wines on the market, but our friends over at Flat Creek have a gorgeous venue as well with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. It is perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. All right, let's get to some of the questions here.
I got to say something funny real quick on this.
Throw it out there.
From F for Fake. I bet Matt's never been called a hall monitor before.
Oh,
Producer Matt got called a hall monitor.
Oh, because of chat. He's got to police the chat. He's got to police the chat, man. I get it. He's got to police the chat. I see some Cowboys fans are upset about the Micah Parsons news. Did Micah actually request a trade? Is it official? Did he request a trade? Let me just say this, Cowboys fans. I would not worry. Micah is going to end up getting signed by the Cowboys. This is the Cowboys formula for drama, guys. They do it all the time. They do it all the time. Go look at all of their contract negotiations, whether it's Jerry just instigating it or now Stephen Jones a part of it. They, like TNT, love the drama because he understands this is why they are the most, prolific and the most valuable and affluent brand in all of sports because they understand that it's a TV show. All right. And if it's a TV show, you have to have drama. You can't go a moment without it. Now, does it help them win football games? Probably not. But does it help them make a lot of money? Yes, it does. So this is all a part of the drama. Like I said, I think Mike actually genuinely is probably hurt. He should be. But they did this with all of their – go look at all of their contract negotiations. They always end up signing the guys. They always end up signing him. He ain't going nowhere, but they're gonna maximize this opportunity to get the headlines and to just, milk it for as much as they can. That's why he is a brilliant marketing mind. Probably maybe the greatest in sports history. I mean, Jerry's up there, guy. I know y'all don't want to admit it, but he is. Yep. But as a football mind, that's a different story. So y'all want to win football games, and that's fine and dandy. He's got a different motive and he's got a different agenda. And by the way, it's working. It's working. All right. Yeah.
Well, who doesn't? Who doesn't want to play for the Eagles?
Exactly. More drama and in-division drama. Guys, Michael ain't going nowhere. If I go end up signing with the Cowboys.
By the way, if you want to get max dollars, put out there publicly that you want to play for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles.
And by the way, let me know one thing, guys. A little Longhorn tie here. Isn't his agent David Mulligetta?
I believe so, yeah.
Guys, David Mulligetta is I call him the Johnny Cochran of NFL agents. He's the one that got Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed deal with multiple, allegations against him of sexual misconduct and all this kind of stuff going on. He was suspended at the time, wasn't even playing at the time. And he had decided he wasn't going to play for the Texans, still got him a fully guaranteed deal.
Yeah.
David Mulligetta knows how to deal. Okay. Yeah. So he gonna get Jerry Jones to pay up. Jerry Jones is gonna get the free media out of the deal. Yeah. Cowboys they're gonna win the offseason like they always do in the headlines like they always do. Whether they're gonna win games, I don't know.
I don't know who Justin Tucker's agent is, but he may want to look at the flip. All right.
The only thing I'll say on this is in the NFL, the equivalent of requesting a trade is like when you're upset and you want to send someone's customer service a strongly worded email. It's pretty much the equivalent of requesting a trade in the NFL. Doesn't mean anything, but
doesn't mean a damn thing. Yeah, you're right. NBA, it means anytime you got a guaranteed salary attached to it, it means something. If there ain't no guaranteed salary attached to it, it don't mean a damn thing. In the NFL, only a few guys got those. All right.
Hey, let's hit on one thing real quick before we move to questions, Rod.
Yeah.
Because it's been brought up. How's Wingo doing? DJ Campbell. So they missed practice yesterday. We believe that Wingo will be back. We're not saying today or tomorrow, but I nothing major with him. With DJ Campbell, well, look, I'm not saying it is anything major. We don't really know. Jeff, I thought it was interesting they immediately moved Cole Hudson the right guard, though. That didn't feel like, oh, he's missing a day type of thing. When you move your starting center to the right guard after one practice.
Yeah.
That kind of opened my eyes a little bit on DJ Campbell. So let's see when he returns to practice.
Because in theory, you could have just slid, Connor Stroh in there or whatever and just kept rolling. Or, move Neto to right guard and put Nate Kibble in the starting line. I'll say this, it's interesting too. I'm glad you brought this up, Jerry, just because for some nuance. When they've looked in the past at their guard rotation, and I know this was the case in 2023, one of the problems and this is why Cole Hudson actually was a good third guard, not just because he started 13 games as a freshman, but for a while, DJ Campbell could only play the right guard position. They couldn't slide him over to left guard. So that really kind of hamstrung you if something happened to Hayden Connor and you needed to move some things around. Like you couldn't really move DJ Campbell from where he was at. So look, you'd love to have DJ Campbell in there, but with Cole Hudson, you've got some flexibility to move some things around. The question there, Jerry, is I don't know if Neto can. I would imagine he can do more than left guard, but he's been there for a while. But that's just something to think about. A little food for thought with the O-line mix.
Hey, and a little earlier, Derek Weiser said, "How's nephew doing?" Well, seeing as you're in Belize, I could tell you tripped over his feet 6 times and dropped 3 passes, and it wouldn't ruin your day on the beach. So, but Trey Weiser's look really good. It's not going to be talked about enough, but Trey Weiser looked really good, looked really quick. Bobby pointed out that that guy really sees the cutback lane, guys. He has cutback vision.
I like that.
That's why they were so outside zone dependent last year. Trey Weiser's a really good zone runner, and to be a really good zone runner, you need three things: you need patience, you need vision, and you got to be able to stick a foot in the ground and get vertical. And he could do all three of those things really well.
Agreed. Brandon with a super chat. Thank you, Brandon, for the first super chat today. He says all SEC first teamers over under 6. What are your thoughts? Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the under just because for first team all SEC. Yeah, I'll take the under.
Can you get a special teams guy on there? That's the question. Like, I think if you get a
Boom.
Boomeister and Mason Shipley, you get one of those guys on there, then it helps you. But we're just talking about first team offense and defense. Yeah, that's a high number because on offense, wide receiver is going to be tough. Wide receiver is just loaded everywhere.
If Texas gets 6 first teamers, they probably the number 1 seed in the college football playoff. Honestly, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here because that would probably mean Trevor Gooseby, left tackle, potentially Arch, Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill. You're at 4. Michael Taft would be 5. Manny Muhammad or something.
Jack Andrews could be.
Yeah.
You got first teamers in the SEC. You're probably the 1 or 2 seed in the playoff. I
agree with that. Yeah, somebody you don't expect, like a Malik Muhammad, like somebody sneaks up on her you don't expect to be a first teamer. But yeah, 6, that's a very high number. We'll see how the special teams right now in Georgia. Then I look at the when they looked at
like, the whole thing. Punter, kicker, kick returner, punt returner, all of it.
It was all Georgia. Thank you, Brandon, for the super chat. We appreciate that. All right, getting back to the questions. How about this one from Kobe? He says, "What's the point in having refs at the practices?" I think they try to simulate, some game situations, so they don't want you obviously holding, and so when they're doing team. I don't even know. Maybe they do it in 7-on-7 with pass interference, stuff like that. Yeah. They try to keep the guys in a mindset where, hey, in practice, you still want to be polished and you want to be sloppy. You want to be grabbing. Matter of fact, Sark said something about that at practice. He was actually getting on one of the DBs. I think go say what DB, but it's because basically the DB held the wide receiver and it kept the offense from being efficient. They didn't look good in that drill, so DB got yelled at for holding the player. But I think that's. And by the way, Sark said the refs they're not gonna call it out here all the time. They don't call it out there all the time, but we want to make sure we're practicing, mentality that, hey man, we got good hands and that, we're not developing bad habits out of nowhere. So Sark he mentioned, like I said, and it's the little media window I saw him mention it, and I think that's why the refs are out there pretty much.
Officials need reps too, man. I mean, there's a lot of guys that live in Austin that I know that are in the Austin area. They may not work for the SEC or the Big 12. I don't like it. They work for the Southland or the Sun Belt or whatever, high school officials. It's the preseason for everybody.
Yeah.
Got to get in game shape, baby. Got to get in game shape. Thank you for that question, Kobe. Cisco, thank you for the question. Says, with Grayson Littleton playing at nickel, do you see Gilbo at the corner spot opposite Manny Muhammad? I would just say he looks good there. And he looks more confident at corner. Now, maybe that's just him. He's a brand new father. So maybe I'm just looking at it and he just
pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he's just responding, to all the things going on in his life. But he does look to me like more natural at corner. But the truth is, it's just easier to play corner. I've said that. I remember Deion saying, who wants to be a superstar? Find me a guy that can play the star. If you want to be a star.
Deion used to start Under Armour All-America game week when I was part of ESPN Under Armour. His first meeting, he'd be like, who's the dog? Who wants to play nickel? Hardest position to play outside quarterback in football.
Agreed.
And he would challenge the DBs. Who wants to come try and play it for me in Under Armour week? That's all you need to hear, really. I mean, when Deion Sanders says it's that tough, two-way goes.
And would the best players go do it at that time, Jerry?
Oh, yeah. They would test themselves. Yeah, because they knew Deion was going to be hands-on with them.
Yeah. I mean, so to me, I've said, like, I think that's the toughest position to play. He's probably now, because of his experience at nickel, having a good time at corner. Because I didn't think he always felt comfortable at nickel. he felt a little uncomfortable at nickel at times. I say he couldn't play it; he still played it, and at a reasonably, competent level. But to me, just watching him, he looks more confident. He's getting out his breaks quicker. I think he's just his body language looks a little bit different out there. Like I said, I could be looking at a new dad. I mean, seeing a new dad out there.
Rod, the guy, he was in high school. He played a boundary corner at least senior year when I went to see him play. He's always been a more physical player than a speed burner player, right? And a more physical player likes to have the sideline as his friend.
It helps. Yep. Even if you're not a physical player, I love the sideline. Me, corner was easier to play too because I have that boundary, man, and that's an immense help for any corner. Yeah. Just to have less area to defend because I know, all right, there's only so much of that boundary that you can work with there, and not all quarterbacks can throw in them really small windows too. But a two-way go at nickel, guys, that is trouble. So I always said this, and I'll end the conversation here. The lineage at nickel, go back and look at it. I'm gonna go back and start tracking it. I'm gonna try to get Coach Akina's thoughts on it too, because I was talking to Huff Daddy, and Huff Daddy played some nickel early on. We found out Taft started out at nickel when he first got Texas. If you can play that nickel spot at Texas, you got a Sunday skill set. Does it always mean you're going to end up getting drafted and playing league a long time? No, but it's a really high hit rate for the guys who are able to play that position to translate to the league, like a pretty high hit rate.
I'll end Cisco's question with this. I don't think one has necessarily anything to do with the other. I think Guilbeau, like Rod and Jerry just laid it out, Guilbeau looks comfortable at corner. I think he's going to be given every opportunity to win that job. And as far as the nickel, I love. It's a blessing in disguise that Derek Williams is still on the mend, still recovering, because now that you need Jelani McDonald to take practice reps at safety, it opens up the door for other guys to get reps at that star position. So that way, when you've got your full complement, whenever Derek Williams is back, and now you've got the flexibility to move Jelani McDonald back to the nickel. Well, now, based on opponents, in theory, you could have a different star out there multiple times per season based on the opponent. If you need bigger personnel, put Jelani McDonald there. If it's you need more of a coverage guy there, maybe it's Grayson Littleton. If you need a little bit of both, maybe it's Wardell Mack. But I just like the fact that they're kind of forced right now to try different guys there. So that Derek Williams injury is a little bit of a blessing in disguise right now.
Because you're so deep.
Yeah.
And shout out, and Jeff and I talked about this too. I like the way Warren Roberson looks out there at corner. I know this is not necessarily in the question, but I think he looks good too. Just to Jeff's point about them having a lot of options now and being able to explore those options and experiment with them a little bit early on in training camp. All right, good question. Thank you for that. Roll Left wants to know, Jerry, do you swing the golf club lefty too?
No, I do not, and I don't swing it at all anymore.
Oh, come on. See?
Yeah, I don't have time anymore.
Do you still have them, or do you sell your golf clubs?
Closet to the left.
All right, there's still hope there.
They're in there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say hello, but that's it.
You guys are happy that Jerry's now on the golf course. That means he's out watching
That's right.
getting eyes on some of these prospects. Jeff Jr. says, any news on a QB for the 2027 class?
Texas isn't really in a hurry at quarterback in 27, which is a big change up from the last two classes. And it's going to be interesting to see which way that goes at quarterback, because I think if Texas wanted to get somebody in the boat right now, they could. It's University of Texas. Is there somebody out there they're kind of aligning with in terms of timing? We'll see early in the season, throughout the season. I think Kavian Bryant's on the board. Also, Gunnar Rivers is in no rush to make a decision. See what happens.
Man, they get another celebrity quarterback. That's going to be crazy. At that point, people are like, all right, y'all doing this on purpose. Y'all get another celebrity QB out there, man. But they do like players who grew up in a household with a parent or a sibling that played ball at a higher level, at a college or a pro level. So that would actually align with all of their metrics. All right. Thank you, Jeff, for that one. DKW back. Hey, David Keith Williams, it's been a while. Appreciate you with the question. Says Jeff, how and at Mayo Hamilton, do you both think Texas will have an 8 deep within the offensive line? Do you both think Connor Robertson, Nate Kibble, and Nick Brooks and or Andre Kojo are that 8?
I'm not ready to go there. You got the potential for it, but I'm not ready to. I would right now, Jerry. I would if you're talking about guys that I think they consider like starting caliber dudes outside of the first 5. I think Nate Kibble and Andre Kojo are probably there.
I think Nick Brooks is there, but he's kind of serving his.
Yeah, that's what makes that tricky a little bit. He's got to serve his got served the punishment for the off-field incident at the end of spring ball. But yeah, I think if you're 8 deep, those are your 8.
All right. Thank you, DKW. Oh, we got another one actually right back to back here. He said, I think Parker Livingstone is the clear outside, number 3 outside wide receiver behind Wingo and Emmett Mosley. But who is the number 2 inside wide receiver behind DeAndre Moore?
I think it's Dalen McCutcheon.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what we've seen.
Young buck. Okay. Appreciate that question, DKW. How about this one from Jose? Says, Jerry and Jefe, now that this roster is as deep as it is the strategy to take one premium player at a premium position like left tackle every other cycle to not lose players?
Nope. No, I think, Jerry, when you do that, that gets into I'll call it the Mac Brown post-national championship overthinking.
Yeah.
Where, if we get this guy, well, we may not want to go after this guy really hard because maybe it'll – no. That's not what the staff is doing. I mean, you coming off of the O-line classes that they had, like they tried to get Michael Fasusi last year. They tried to get Lamont Rogers. Those guys just went elsewhere. But now you're able to come get John. So if it works out to where they get those guys, great. If not, they'll evaluate guys. But they're not going to back off of like blue chip guys just because they've got one in the program already.
No, I agree 100%.
Now, I say that with quarterback.
And honestly, you can't. That's really hard to do and maintain.
Yeah. You can't guarantee it. Can't guarantee you're going to hit on that guys.
Like with quarterback, right? Like when they got when Arch committed, like they were recruiting Dylan Raiola and Julian Sand. It's just the minute Arch committed, those guys were like, all right, where am I going? Because it's not going to be Texas. So it's not like the staff stopped recruiting elite quarterbacks. Just everybody saw the writing on the wall. So I don't see them stopping the pursuit of guys that they feel like are, like legitimate NFL type guys.
All right. Thank you for that question, Jose. We appreciate it. Getting back to the questions here. How about this one from Roger? OTF, which true freshman do you see in their positional rotation by the time we get to the A&M game? Oh, that's good.
True freshman.
Well, it's easy. Obviously, Justice Terry is going to end up in the rotation.
Lance Jackson.
Honestly, both of those guys.
Josiah Sharma.
Bumped inside on that NASCAR package sooner rather than later, too. Like doing something pretty. Because actually, Alan Clark has already admitted Justice Terry is going to do some of that.
Josiah Sharma.
Who? Okay.
Grayson Littleton.
That's
easy. We can't say anything on Cade Phillips or Jonah. They just didn't practice. So Jonah's already falling behind, right? I mean, 2 practices in, hasn't practiced, wasn't there for spring. He was in the meeting rooms, was playing baseball. So, and it's not like he's coming into a situation where Kelvin Bank was, where we got to run you out there. There's dudes in front of him. I think one of the wide receivers, because there's going to be injuries in the season, one of those freshman wide receivers will end up being a factor on this team. And it depends on which position within the wide receiver room has a nick or somebody misses a couple of games. But there's one of those guys is going to be needed to play in games, not in a real role. Nick Brooks, potentially. That's
good. Wow. But that probably be an injury thing too, though, right? I'm not going to knock on someone.
Yeah. I mean, if we didn't think we'd see Trevor Gooseby at all last year.
Yeah. But once you get once you're second, second string behind the starter as a true freshman, there's a good chance you're going to see the field in some critical reps, either as a rotation or, like you said, unfortunately, because of an injury or something like that. So I like that.
If we're talking about by the end of the regular season, I know Jeff Banks hasn't typically played young tight ends, but I hope by that point they've figured out a role for Nick Townsend.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe that 13 personnel package down in the red zone, something like that.
Could be that. Could be. I just think, like I said, Banks typically hasn't played young tight ends, but I think Nick Townsend. Even when you hear Jeff Banks publicly talk about Nick Townsend, I just think the athleticism, the whole package he brings to the table, it's just too much to not find some way to have him help you win a football game.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right. Thank you for the question, Rogers. How about this one from S&D Tacos? OTF, are we natty or bust? I don't think we're natty or bust, but the Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams size, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size, but I do think you're either Final Four. Your only margin for error here in wriggle room is Final Four, get to the national title game or win it. So you're not just natty or bust, but you're pretty close. Because if you don't get back to the Final Four, Longhorns fans will think you somehow regressed.
Right. And it's tough in the playoff era because you could get upset, right? You could have a bad game somewhere. The ball may not bounce your way and you could get bounced out of the playoffs. But I would agree with Rod. I mean, look, semifinal or actually taking the next step and playing for it. I think there's steps to all this, but I don't ever want to say natty or bust because, boy, that's tough. But I agree, Final Four or national championship game. Get an opportunity because you've been so close the last 2 years.
So close.
I think it's even tougher now in the 12-team format because you got to win at least 3 games to win it all. That's after assuming if you're Texas and you're in that position, that's assuming you don't have to play the first round game.
I was on the road.
Yeah, and you played on the road. And you played a conference championship game. So
Jeff, think about if you're 10-2 this year. Okay, think about if you're 10-2, but you're a lower seed, and you go play at Penn State in round 1.
Yeah.
I mean, like Tennessee had to play at Ohio State last year. So think about if you be sent to Ohio State for the second time this year, because they'll be better at the end of the year if they're in it than they are at the beginning. What if you get sent to Clemson this year?
Ooh,
it could happen.
So if you're on the road in the first one, your path is definitely tougher.
Yeah. And you're playing the best teams in the country. I mean, think about Texas last 4 games of the season playing the best teams in the country and how they ended, right? Went to overtime with Georgia, overtime with Arizona State, came down to the wire versus Ohio State, right? That's how it's going to be potentially. Yeah. And to win, like Jeff says, 4 games like that, that's tough. Like that's tough.
It takes a lot because you think about Texas last year, right? Like the amount of physical and emotional capital you had to expend in the SEC championship game, and they got to turn around 10 days later and play Clemson at home.
Yeah.
And likewise, this is why I think this is a conversation for another time, but they got to do something about championship weekend because, like, you take Georgia almost to its detriment won the SEC last year because of the injuries and everything they had to do to win the SEC championship. They did it. They got into the playoff, but that Georgia team that played Notre Dame was not the same Georgia team that lined up against Texas.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and think about this too. How I know the teams that got byes lost this year, with the exception of one. But think about if Texas had a bye last year. Cam Williams isn't injured.
Oh yeah, it's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got injured against Clemson.
Yeah. No, it could be a game changer.
Key injury in the first round of the playoffs. There's no time to recuperate.
Mm-mm. Yeah, Sark brought up that too. He brought up what Jeff's talking about, like the time, basically had the inconsistent time you have in between games for different teams, depending on their situation.
That was like with the Kelvin Banks situation, right? When Kelvin got hurt against A&M, it's like, well, we'll hold him out, because we may what bigger game could there be than a conference championship game? But in theory, like Sark was 100% right holding Kelvin out of the SEC championship game.
Yep. And thank God you had a Trevor Gooseby, though. He knew, like, I got a guy. I got a dude. That was more of a trust in, hey, I got a dude here, Trevor Gooseby. He's all right. Wait till y'all see this. All right, let's thank another sponsor, our friends over at Vaughn Lane. Before we answer some more questions here, you've got to get to all the different, cities in Texas, the major cities in Texas: Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin. Well, it can be a bit of a toss-up and a bit of a hassle, right? Do you deal with the airport chaos and hope your flight isn't delayed, or do you brace yourself for hours behind the wheel, battling traffic and road rage and dealing with the general stress of burning an entire day of productivity on the road? Well, the third option is the best option, and it's our friends over at Vaughn Lane. You arrive at a luxury hotel terminal, no TSA lines, no long-term parking lots, just a seamless boarding experience that takes minutes, not hours. You settle into a plush leather seat, a hot towel, pillow, and a blanket are at arm's reach for you. And our friends over at Vaughn Lane make sure that you are as comfortable as possible. It is a luxurious experience. They have only 22 of those oversized plush leather seats on the bus, 140-degree recline leg rest, and a cabin attendant that serves complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select trips, a full meal if you like. If you need to relax, you can lean back and enjoy the ride. But if you want to stay productive, there's high-speed Wi-Fi and power at every seat. Fall travel is booking fast, so reserve your spot now for October trips to Texas versus OU, or F1 and ACL in Austin, or college football weekends in Nashville, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston. Visit VaughnLane.com. Vaughn Lane connects Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Nashville, Atlanta, Memphis, and now Knoxville as well. Throw the Woodlands on there, and Plano. I mean, they're adding more and more cities to this list. VaughnLane.com, VONLANE.com. Use the code OTF25 to save $20 off your first ride with Vaughn Lane. Vaughn Lane, elevated regional bus transportation. All right, let's get back to the questions here. How about this one from Tyler? Says, who do y'all see as the most underappreciated player on the team this year? I'm going with LaFau. That is a damn good one.
It's always the steady Eddies that are underappreciated.
Yeah, LaFau's a good one.
Like Baron Sorrell was a little underappreciated last year, but he's as consistent of a player as there's been in the Sark era.
Totally. Ethan Burke for me on this year's team.
Oh, that's good. That's money. Yeah. The lunch pail blue collar guy.
We talk about the guys at edge, and I mean, look, we can be excited about Lance Jackson and Justice Terry, and Colin Simmons looks great, but Ethan Burke started a lot of football, played a lot of football at Texas.
Yeah.
I think it's going to end up being the punter. It's probably the punter and the kicker, considering how bad Texas was in the kicking game last year. It's probably going to be because those guys, I think they're going to be a huge improvement, and Texas fans aren't going to appreciate how much of an improvement, because they'll be looking at other things, other shiny objects on this roster. Which
two things to that. Like when I walked down on the practice field and looked at the right hash, I didn't cringe. I didn't go, one, but two. Hey Rod, talk about this, because Texas has a field flipper at punter.
Yeah.
And a guy that has experience. The difference between downing a punt at the 7 versus the 15th is a massive difference. I think having a elite punter, a guy that'll be in an NFL training camp next year, can help maximize the defense. Because last year the Texas defense performed at a high level, put in some tough situations through offensive turnovers, and then a freshman punter who wasn't the level of what we're going to see this year. How do you think that can help maximize the Texas defense? Because I think it can.
Oh, I'm with you, Jerry. Because, I mean, think about the playbook, right? The playbook for a coach shrinks significantly, for a play caller shrinks significantly when they're backed up deep in their own territory.
Yeah,
there's not so much they're willing to call and so much they're willing to risk. But they're out on the 20 or out on the 25. Hey, man, playbook's wide open, right? And I think that's a big part of it too. You really can restrict what they're willing to execute when they're pinned back deep into their own territory. And I think ultimately for a defense, there's a psychological factor too.
Yes.
I mean, I think you feel like and I believe the play callers probably call the plays accordingly, that you're more aggressive. I think defenses are more aggressive when they got a team backed up. They go into attack mode because they smell blood. You're weak as an offense. We know you're only gonna, certain concepts you're willing to throw out there when you're backed up deep in your own territory. So I agree with you, man. I think ultimately, considering how elite that defense was last year, they were put at a disadvantage a lot because of sudden change, because Texas had so many turnovers last year, and because they didn't win the field position battle. Texas oftentimes was losing the field position battle. That defense was still top 5 when they were losing the field position battle. Crazy. So I agree with you, Jerry. That's I think Bo Meester and Mason Shipley gonna be the guys who will be underappreciated this year. Tegan with a question that says, "What seniors or upperclassmen look like they have taken another step from leadership and talent wise?" Ooh, that's good.
Ethan Burke, but we hit on that with Jeff already.
Demo is
Yeah.
he's relishing in that role, right, Jerry? He's out there. He's got that Jay Witt about him, right? He's out there early, staying late, that kind of dude.
Cole Hudson's forced to as a starting center. If you're a starting center, you have to.
Yeah.
To survive. So he's one.
Ethan Burke, I think you brought up, Jeff. He's another guy that I think I've heard is kind of taking the leadership role with those edges and stepped up as an upperclassman.
It's a different kind of leadership, but I've seen Colin Simmons take a step just from the standpoint of, he's clearly envisioning himself getting into the league here pretty quick. And I think is approaching it very businesslike. And I think the way he's working is demanding more of his teammates, not by being a rah-rah guy or anything, but just setting the tone with how he works every day. So it's a different kind of leadership, but I just see Colin Simmons. It looks like he's not hanging back and just trying to get his. It seems like he's being a little more assertive, a little more proactive.
I'll tell you another one is Trey Wisner, because he now has 1,000 yards in the books in a productive season and a tough game at A&M where he kind of carried the Texas offense. So he's thrust himself into that, even though Cedric Baxter may be the heart and soul of the team in a weird way.
That's a good one. I like that about Trey Wisner. Oh, as a matter of fact, I want to say, Trey Wisner, does he look a little bigger? Is he looking a little –
they list him at less weight than last year, but he looks stronger, if that makes sense.
Looks a little more cut up, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I've noticed that too about him. How about this one from Jeff? Oh, Jeff with the super chat here says, Jeff Davis says, "I'm still salty about Mark Bowman committing to USC. He will be a monster in Sox offense."
Look, there's very few players I say this about. I think he'd be a monster in any offense. I think he's a legitimate 5-star tight end prospect. So if Texas, if Winston and Townsend weren't impressing early on, I'd be like, what was the price tag for Bowman again? But I do think because the two freshmen are showing really well, it takes some of that pressure off for the Texas staff. But I think Mark Bowman's a tremendous prospect, and I think anywhere he goes, he's going to be a monster if he stays healthy. He's really good.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate that question. All right, getting back to it here. CB wants to know my thoughts on Gilbo's Akina impression. It wasn't raspy enough. Got to get raspier with it. Yeah, it wasn't raspy. You got to get, if you don't hurt your throat doing an Akina impression, then you didn't do it right. It's got to be like, oh man, after that, it's got to be. So I just think it got to be a little raspier, but he's getting it. And he by the way, he hasn't been exposed to it for very long, right? Coach King just got there. So I'm sure by mid-season, somebody will have perfected their Akina impression. And I'm expecting it by then. I'll ask Taff or some of the other Huff Daddy about it later on this season. Thank you for that, CB. How about this one from Jay Rich? Jay Rich Production says, how does Kobe Black look? I thought he looks pretty good. I think he looks a little more fluid in his movements from last year. He's a bigger corner. Bigger corners, oftentimes you wonder about their hips, being able to get in and out of those breaks because got the big frame. I thought he looked more fluid getting in and out of his breaks. I think it's something he's been working on as a young DB. I think he's got the inside track to be, that corner opposite Malik Muhammad. Like I said, that's separate. I think Jeff's right. Separate than the Grayson Littleton conversation that's happening. And maybe the Derek Williams conversation is also a separate conversation they're happening too. And at one point, all those things will, I think, obviously, they'll have to make those decisions and all those things will converge. But I do think if they're just looking at the corner spot opposite Malik Muhammad, who's got the inside track, I do believe it's Kobe Black. Now, Jalen Gilbo, I think if he wants to, like I said, if he wants to take the Janae Barron route, then that's a different discussion too. I think they got like 4 or 5 conversations that are happening in the secondary simultaneously. And the Gilbo one is one. Kobe Black, corner opposite Malik Muhammad, he's a part of that one. The Derek Williams conversation when he's ready, and now the Grayson Littleton conversation. These are all first world problems, though. Just throwing it out.
Yeah. What's interesting about Kobe is when I saw him at the Under Armour game, he was, he didn't actually come to Texas with what looked like a cornerback body, Rod.
No, he's long.
He's done well. He was kind of thicker,
and
he had some. I'm not sure baby fat or what.
You can call it. Yeah,
he had to reshape his body to look like a college bigger corner because he didn't really. He almost had. Is that guy going to weigh 220 if he wants to? Look, so he's done a good job with his body, getting it to where he's ready to go compete. Because it didn't walk in that way.
Mm-hmm. No, I know what you mean. Baby fat is not insulting, but I do think that's why I always say some guys don't have their grown man body yet. You can tell when he comes. He's like, oh, he still got his teenage body out there. He's still balling out, but he still hadn't totally come into form. Yeah, I agree with you on that too. Good point, Jerry. How about this one from Jonathan? Says, do you think we'll be better in the red zone? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Well, you better be. Yes. But I think the Arch's legs are going to help. Arch is a better passer in a condensed area like the red zone. I think that'll help. And if CJ Baxter is healthy and Jarrett Gibson, the baby Rhino, if he's trustworthy, I should say, I think they'll be fine there because they got now some short yardage weapon, right? Who can have that violent twitch that you always talk about, Jeff. I think those guys may have it.
I think the main takeaway, Jeff, is Sark has more plays to call in the red zone. He's got more at his disposal
because of Arch.
And on top of that, Jerry, I think you'll see him open it up. He'll push the envelope with creativity a little bit more, because if Mason Shipley can be automatic, pretty much if if it's an attempt from 40 in, we're good. Then once you cross, let's say the 35-yard line, get to that high red area, if Sark feels like no matter what, as long as we don't turn the ball over, we can come away with 3 points, then I think he'll push the envelope a little bit. He couldn't do that at the end of last year because they just straight up didn't trust Bert Auburn.
Yeah. Also true. Didn't think about that. Good point. Brandon with a super chat says, did CB4 play like a 5-star pre-injury be real? Talking about Cedric Baxter, I'm assuming.
I have a different take. I think he did. I mean, because I think it's more than stats. It's there's a reason Nick Saban said he was the best running back they went against, right? Because those guys say, okay, this guy's a freshman and he can roll out at Alabama and you can split him out the first play. He's really good in pass pro. Like, I think it's more than just taking handoff and how many yards you put up. I think Cedric Baxter was performing at an incredibly high level for a freshman.
I think we watched him grow up, show a lot of maturity on the fly in 23 when Jonathan Brooks got hurt, and they needed him to grow up fast. Like they're like, look, we can't ease you into this anymore. Like you're the guy. And go back and remember that Iowa State game that they won on the road in Ames toward the end of that year. Like, I think he might have had, I know he had over 100 yards, but Jerry, it seemed like every high level, like there was a point in that game where they needed to run the ball to salt the game away. Iowa State knew they were running the ball, and he's still getting 4 or 5 yards a pop. And they were tough between the tackles, physical runs. So that's the game to me where I look at CJ Baxter and say, yeah, he grew up that night in Ames.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember that game. That was he put the kind of offense on his back.
Yeah.
You realize you can put the offense just on one guy. And if you can do that with a young player, then he's obviously talented. But I'm with you on that. And that was man, how many yards did he rush for in that game? Did he go to 100? He didn't go 100.
I could have sworn he got to 100.
I think you're right. No, he did. You're right. I think you're right about that.
20 for 117, 5 receptions, 13 yards.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Back to the super chats here. This is from Che Dang. He says, does Quinn have better touch and Arch better everything else? This is interesting because DeAndre Moore was asked about the difference between Arch and Quinn. That's why Matthew's the best. I think DeAndre Moore gets into this a little bit. Here is DeAndre Moore when he was asked about the difference between the two.
The differences you notice between Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning thus far?
One had baby wheels and one has super wheels.
Which one's which?
Oh, you know. Arch's footballs come with a little bit more of a zip. Quinn's were a little bit more of a pillow, a little bit of a cushion. He'll kind of loft it in there. Arch is zipping that thing in there, getting it to you.
There you go. All right, so there you go. I will say this too: if you want to talk about things that Arch has to work on that Quinn was really good at, naturally good at, Quinn's ball placement on a lot of the quick game, it was
all arm angles, right, Rod?
Yes, it was off platform. He was really good at that. We didn't appreciate it because we want to get the vertical stuff downfield, which Arch is great at. But that's what Quinn was really good at. I think Arch will have to work on some of that and the touch. There's time when you need that touch. Maybe Quinn had too much of it. There's times when he needed to just let it rip. There are times where I think Arch is going to have to put touch on the football, and that was something Quinn did really well. Just kind of intuitively, he do put a lot of good touch on the football.
By the way, you know when somebody's a leader, when they could get in front of the mic like DeAndre Moore and not hesitate to worry about what people are going to think about what he said when he made a statement like that.
It's a great point because they respect him.
Because that's going to be taken one of two ways by fans. And
some people take it as a dig. I know some people take it as a dig at Quinn, right? A little shot at Quinn. I didn't.
Well,
I just think
it's the truth.
I just thought he looked. That was a leadership dude. He went up there and said, "I'm not going to BS and fluff an answer. It's real. Here it is. You asked me a question. Here it is."
Yep.
There cannot be a Texas fan with a straight face that could look me in the eye and tell me Quinn Ewers would beat Arch Manning in a foot race.
No. Or there's no playing on the move. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think it's obvious eye test that Quinn does put more touch on passes, and Arch is trying to get that thing in there and let it rip. So I'm with you. I like the comment too. I mean, as a member of the media, I want you to give us something that we can use.
Yes.
Something we can use. All right. Here's another super chat. Last super chat here from Jeff. He says, Michael Terry, big season coming, size and speed.
So Jeff had asked a question. Jeff Davis asked a question earlier, kind of what we thought. Could Terry have a big season? I think he's really got a lot of development as a wideout in front of him. He's never it's almost like Jelani McDonald, Rod. When Jelani's learned the safety position, he'd never really played it until he got to college. Yeah. There's a curve that comes with that. Like if you watch Michael Terry, we were talking this morning about all the freshman receivers and I was talking about McCutcheon, French, and Khalil Lockett, kind of what you saw from them in high school is kind of translating to college. Like Dalen McCutcheon is played at Lovejoy, really good offensive coaches there. Lavender, who's now at Duncanville, but then Todd Dodge, and he works with Margin Hook. So that guy was going to be a route running machine and understand route running when he got to Texas. Margin Hooks does the great job developing route runners. So then you had Khalil Lockett. What was his calling card coming out of high school? Man, he had great body control, long arms, could go in 50-50 balls, especially along the sideline. His ability to contort his body was amazing. Well, he made one of those catches yesterday on a corner route thrown behind him, where he just flipped the arms back there and in one motion pulled in the football. Then with Jamie French, it was a super smooth guy. You know, he's a super smooth guy running routes and being able to just run under the ball naturally. He showed some of that yesterday. When Michael Terry had never played the position, so you didn't really know. He's not going to get his size, and he hasn't played enough receiver. Rod, he's not going to be getting in and out of breaks with crispness, really, to where he's going to create a lot of separations, understand how to really sink your hips and boom, stick your foot in the ground and just create that separation. But what he's shown, he can run under a football and run through the ball, and he's got the size to kind of play through some contact, you think. So what could his strengths be early on if he gets in this year? It's probably going to be some over-the-top stuff with him, maybe where you sneak him in a matchup. And I'm not saying it's happened, but we were kind of saying what would he look like as a wide receiver. And I think we don't truly know because you don't know where his body's going either. He's a big dude out there now. But now you've at least seen him run enough routes to say, okay, what does he naturally have a feel for? And it's downfield plays running through the ball.
Yeah. Vertical, like movement routes where he's catching the ball. Although he can use his body. All right, to kind of big body guys and use his frame to get
Yeah.
the leg up. All right. But before we end things, let's thank our final sponsor of the evening, our friends over at South Point Dodge. Jerry, would you do us all a favor and give us a message from South Point Dodge?
Absolutely, I will. Hey, Texas football fans, score an easy point this season when you get to the point at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge has over 600 vehicles in stock, including the all-new 2025 Ram 1500. Sounds like Cody Johnson against Oklahoma to me. Get the real deal today and drive away in an all-new Ram truck, proven to last. Plus, you can get employee incentive pricing. That's right. You pay what employees pay. Now, that is a real deal by South Point Dodge. So score today, big today at South Point Dodge. Come see us off I-35 in South Austin or at southpointdodge.com. Get to the point at South Point Dodge. Get you that Ram 1500 and barrel through the end of the end zone against Oklahoma like Cody Johnson.
Nice, good reference. All right, thank you to our friends over at South Point Dodge, and thank you to Matthew behind the scenes, always doing a great job twisting and tweaking the dials. We appreciate all of his hard work, and thank you guys for all the questions and the comments, your participation. Sorry we couldn't get to all of those questions, but save them. We'll have another live stream coming up for you Sunday night. Be myself. Jerry will be on there one, and Bobby Burton himself, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you to our sponsors as well. Thank you to VonLane.com. Use the code OTF25. You'll save $20 off your first ride with Von Lane. Thank you to Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. And thank you to our friends at South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com. Jerry, appreciate all your hard work, brother, and everything that you do. Thank you as well, Jeff. Great stuff, as always. Great nuggets and great knowledge. Thank you guys for your participation. I'm excited because I know you guys are excited too that it's officially football season. For Jeff and for Jerry and for Matthew, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Favors. Until next time, hook 'em horns.